Now, on the industrial action being taken by lecturers from today, joining me is Joseph Attard. He's a graduate teaching assistant at King's College London and a member of the Universities and College Union Executive at King's College. Welcome to you indeed.
Thank you.
King's College, one of the major components of University of London. What's going on there? I mean, are all the relevant lecturers taking action?
Well, obviously we met the draconian threshold established by the Trade Union Act, and of the people balloted, 92% of us in my university are going to be striking, and we intend to strike for as long as it takes to bring the UK back to the table.
Problem is that people who are being hurt are the students rather than the university authorities or the government in this. So is it a particularly effective action?
You know what gives me the greatest confidence in the likelihood of winning this action is the solidarity of students. The Times Higher Education Supplement found that over 50% of students are directing their anger not towards the UCU but towards the UK and their vice-chancellors, and they're angry, but that anger is being directed towards the bosses, and they're right to be angry. This is their education system and it's being squandered. You know, vice-chancellors have seen their wages balloon over the past period. Over the last 10 years or so, frontline teaching staff have seen wages decrease by about 15%. That's where students' fees should be going, reinvested into education, and students understand that.
I mean, students are paying twice, aren't they? They're not getting the teaching they paid for, and they're carrying on paying.
Well, frankly, most of what they pay doesn't go to teaching. It goes to vice-chancellor salaries and to estates, which are used to rope in particularly international students, which are then squeezed for enormous fees. And you'll note that the National Union of Students has already given a joint statement of solidarity with the UCU. My local student union at King's College London has already passed a statement of solidarity. So actually, I think you'll find that the connection between students and staff on this question is pretty firm.
And why do you think this is going to be effective in terms of bringing the employers to the table?
It's the biggest single action the UCU has ever taken. We've got 14 days lined up, and we balloted for up to 6 months, and we intend to fight for as long as we have to.
Just tell me what the impact of the changes is, you believe, moving from the system of final salary system to a defined benefit system.
I'd say it's the single greatest attack on higher education workers in our lifetimes. As you say, I'm a graduate teaching assistant. I'm a PhD student who's paid to teach on a casual basis, and a lot of people at home might not know this, students and prospective students and their parents. Most teaching at universities is done by casualised members of staff who earn, if you tot up their hours accurately, around about minimum wage. It's sort of the JD Sports model of academia. And it's going to hurt people like me the most. I've only just started paying into the pension scheme, and I stand to lose 40% of my pension, £10,000 a year. It's an attack on the security of lecturers that comes off the back of mass casualisation. As I said, vice-chancellors rewarding themselves with huge salaries. So it's incredibly galling and incredibly hypocritical that the UK is shifting the burden and shifting the risk of what they, rather spuriously I say, claim to be a hole in the pension scheme onto ordinary lecturers.
And where should the money come from to, if you were to go back to the system that you got 40% of your pension back, if you like?
Put it this way. My vice-chancellor, or principal I should say, Ed Byrne, earns £450,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's a 20% increase over his predecessor. When's he taking a pay cut?
Yeah, but hang on a second. How many lecturers are there?
Well, in the country?
No, in your college.
A few hundred.
Yeah, well, exactly. So 400,000. I mean, that, in a sense, is a symbolic issue. It's that money is not going to solve the pension hole, is it?
Look,
so where's the extra money going to come
I'm very clear. I'm in favour of free education. I'm in favour of expropriating some of the £850 billion of uninvested capital that's just resting, not doing very much at all in the UK economy. The money exists to provide a free, fair and accessible education system you know, into the future. The problem is that that wealth's in the wrong hands. So I'd be in favour of, as Jeremy Corbyn is, a cradle-to-grave national education service.
So the money is going to come from dramatic increases in personal taxation, because that's the only source of the government, right? And taxation on business.
Well, I don't know. I'd personally go a bit further than that. I think, as I say, there are £850 billion of uninvested capital resting, you know, mostly in big banks and big businesses that I think would be much better used to provide a free education service.
Yeah, but my point is, what you're talking about is not a defined strike for a particular issue where there is money that can sort this out. What you're talking about is a major social upheaval in terms of financing public education?
Well, look, the hole in the pension scheme that the UK cites is based on a very particular assessment of the current situation, a very particular cross-section of the economy as it stands. It's very unlikely that all universities would go bust, which is basically what's being proposed to make this £8 billion figure work. And, you know, part of the reason that you're recommending this...
So you think the basis on which the employers' side are making this change is false, that they're giving you false statistics?
Yeah, I think they're very selective statistics. And I think it's very hypocritical. I think it's very galling when they're rewarding themselves with 6 figures to say that the risk that they identify should be shunted onto ordinary lecturers.
OK, thank you very much indeed. And there we are. There's the demonstration going on live now at Bristol University, supported by the Students' Union as well, our correspondent says.